Hi, this is Mitch Mitchell of I'm Just Sharing. I'm doing this video from my cell phone because it seems I left my webcam at home. I'm in a hotel room and I won't be able to try to get another one until tomorrow morning, but I wanted to do this video tonight. Tomorrow is Father's Day, 2013, June 16th, and my dad passed away on Father's Day, June 16th in 2002. And so it's 11 years later, and I'm having a memory of that tonight as I'm alone here in a hotel room out of town, and my mother is alone in her house, but tomorrow she plans on going to the cemetery to lay flowers down, and, you know, I'm out of town. I'm nowhere close to it. I remember that so well back in 2002 for a couple of reasons. One, 2 days beforehand, we'd had the worst flooding. As a matter of fact, all these years for my house, that's the worst flooding we've ever had on that particular Friday. It just came down like crazy, and we probably had, 6 or 7 inches in the basement. A lot of people had a heck of a lot more, so we were told that we were lucky for what we had. But it seemed like it was one of those kind of things where it was telling that something bad was going to happen. It was also the weekend of a family reunion that my dad's side of the family was having. I don't even remember where now, because obviously we couldn't go. My dad had been sick for a long time, and he was pretty much relegated to a bed that had been brought to their house where they live, him and Mom. And so, I'd been going up every once in a while so that Mom could have a couple of nights of sleep. And so, it was one of those types of things where we knew he wasn't going to get better, but we weren't really sure, how bad things were. It was a really strange thing. But the final day my dad was alive, it seems that I was upstairs taking a shower, and he spoke clearly to my wife and my mother. And then he started to develop this cough. And when the cough wouldn't stop, that's when we said, okay, it's time to call an ambulance. And when the ambulance came and they got my dad in the truck or the ambulance and took him off, it was one of those kind of things where I knew he wasn't going to be coming back home. I knew he was not going to come back to that house. I don't know why I knew that, and I knew that. And on that day, I was 43 years old, and I cried for the first time since I was 9 years old. It never even occurred to me. I always wondered what my reaction would be to something, really stimulus, because I hadn't cried in so long. And I cried that day. And I kept crying that day at different points. And one of the weird things right now, as I think about this, is that the guy across the street, this guy named Doug, came over to the house after the ambulance left. And that's when I broke down, and I was feeling really embarrassed, although I couldn't stop, because here I am crying, and I'm crying in front of some guy I don't know, and the guy, kind of hugged me, and he said it'd be all right, and he liked my dad, and he did really well. And that guy, a few years ago, ended up killing his wife in that very same house, a different wife than the one I knew. And this was a guy whose emotions seemed, I guess, to swing both ways, and yet on that day, he was there for me. And that's just... it's surreal when you look back on it. And I just thought I'd throw that in there because, it shows that even when some people may have bad things in their lives, that sometimes they're able to touch other people's lives in positive ways. It's really weird. So anyway, my dad was taken to this hospital, and, there was a big discussion that day. I told Mom, you can't take care of Dad anymore. We need to put him in a nursing home once they stabilize him. But at a certain point, we all knew that wasn't going to happen. As a matter of fact, it seems my wife had already figured it out way before anyone else that she thought he wasn't going to make it through the day. But she's on the medical side of healthcare, whereas I'm in finance, so she'd seen things before. Matter of fact, she'd been trying to prep me for the day for probably 4 to 6 months, and, no, I don't think that you can ever really be prepared for anything like that. So, basically, on that day, we were out in another area, sitting there trying to plan, when the doctor came and said, I don't think there's long to go, and you might want to come in here. And so we went in there, and we were all there, my mother and I, my grandmother, my wife, and some deacon. I don't know who he is. I really don't. I don't even remember what he looks like. And supposedly, I saw him again when my grandmother passed away, but he recognized me and I didn't recognize him at all. I just don't remember anything except when my dad stopped breathing, and it was exactly at 4:45 p.m. on that day. And, I reacted, as well as probably anyone could, which means I cried, and then I went off and I cried, and I called some people, and I called my relatives. And one of the strange things, and no one has ever come and told me who it was, but supposedly at the same time my dad passed away, one of my younger cousins at the family reunion said to somebody, "Uncle Lloyd just passed away." And no one has ever told me all these years later who that was. But his twin brother didn't feel it, but someone felt it. And I just don't know which young cousin it was who knew it. So, most Father's Days, I can pretty much just let it go and not necessarily think about it at all. But when Father's Day falls on June 16th, I think about it. At 4:45, I seem to always know when it's 4:45. I think about it some more. I don't cry about it anymore. I cried about it probably for the first 4 or 5 years, and now I don't cry about that day anymore. Not that it would be bad if I did, but, I've kind of come to grips with it. I felt a lot of guilt back then because I didn't get to hear my dad's last words. And I remember a lot of other things on that day that I don't want to bring up here. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. But I give a lot of tribute to my dad. I've honored my dad. On my business website, I have a tribute page to my dad. I've put up pictures of my dad on my websites and on Facebook, and I'm in some of those with him. And, it's kind of tough. And, when it's associated with a holiday, it's even tougher. And now I work on helping my mom out whenever I can, and, I know it's going to happen someday, and I'm not looking forward to that day either. But I think I'm more prepared now. And in a weird way, it's almost like it's a lesson that my dad gave me in taking care of my mother to be better prepared to, take the steps necessary to help her when things happen. So, tribute to my dad, tribute to all the other dads out there. I saw a video earlier today where Tamika Haywood, and you can check out her page, but she was talking about her father passing away many years ago as well. So I guess it's, let's see, what would that be? The 17th anniversary for her dad being gone. It never gets easy, but as adults, these are the kind of things we deal with. So anyway, like I said, this was my tribute video to my dad. I know this is going to show up looking pretty horrible on YouTube, but, what can you do? So anyway, like I said, I'm Mitch Mitchell of I'm Just Sharing, and this was my tribute video to my dad. Dad, love you, miss you every single day. Take care.